All right. Hey, welcome to the Podshow. Jeff and Tori Masters.
Well, hello there.
It's good to be here.
I already asked you if you flew in today, so I already know that information.
Yep.
We did.
But you guys are here for our big conference this weekend. It's Super Bowl week. Sunday's the Super Bowl, but Friday and Saturday is our Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's Valentine's weekend. Valentine's is on Monday.
It's also our anniversary.
Oh.
Yeah.
Coming up on 3 years.
I'm strategic. I planned the wedding right around Valentine's Day because, you hear about guys struggling to remember things. Well, guess what, baby? I hacked the system.
So on Monday, literally, 14th is your anniversary.
It's the 16th.
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 Yeah.
Perfect.
Right
Whoa.
around there.
So glad I got that right.
What if you said it wrong, babe?
Yeah. Well, we got engaged on the 17th, so I get confused sometimes.
There's a lot of dates right around there.
So we met last fall at the First Baptist Dallas EXO
Yes.
conference. Y'all were amazing. You came in, did your thing. Y'all were big personalities. Came around, did some filming. What was that like for you?
It was an incredibly impactful event for us as a couple. I think that we originally came in really thinking that we were going to consume content to be able to deliver to our audience. But I feel like our marriage was so blessed by it. And I just remember, especially at the very end when we got to renew our vows, there were just tears like flooding our face. And I remember leaving and just being so filled with joy and hope for our future and so excited to share it with our audience as well. But I don't think we realized how much we needed it and what a refreshment it was for us.
Yeah. I just want to go and apologize. If I get emotional in this at all, it's because I'm incredible. And I know I just left a really big mastermind group meeting.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that they were teaching was just incredibly heavy but special about being a good husband, being a good father, and being a good man of God in your career and everything. And so I'm carrying a lot of weight right now, but in a good way. And one of the things that stood out to me from the first time we went to the conference was it wasn't just the speakers, which, by the way,
Incredible.
wow.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was the sidebar conversations. It was those moments where, I feel like some of our best friends, they're our best friends because you're like, oh, you like that too? Or,
Yeah.
oh, you went through that too? And it was just some of those conversations that you have with people that are walking with you in a certain direction, and
Yeah.
they're arm in arm. And marriage is tough, but it's so fruitful and it's so incredible to know that there's other people around that want to compare notes with you. And so I really was blessed by the sidebar conversations of just meeting people, hearing their stories, and hearing how we can, lift each other up. And a lot of people were speaking into our marriage.
Yes.
And so that was something that just like, it rocked me because, someone said in a quote recently, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it was, had everything to do with like whenever you learn something, it's not learning the information, it's actually practicing the information that you learned.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like some of those conversations, they became so practical. And so as I walked away from that, I felt like I could apply things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jeff Bethke.
Right?
He's a friend. He's
Yeah.
he's been on EXO stage before.
Aw.
He's brilliant.
Yeah. He was speaking
Great
really
guy.
high about you because I was talking to him about you and all that. And he was like, oh yeah, I love those guys. And that's the only reason I was allowed to leave my mastermind group to come up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aw.
So he's like, I get it. I'm going to give you a pass because it's you.
Yeah. I would send him a gift, but I don't know what shipping was like to Hawaii.
Not
It's a
good.
lot. But yeah.
He is great. Him and Alyssa both, they crank out so much content, good content
They
for
do.
families. I admire them from afar most of the time, but Jeff and I are friends. But he's been a part of EXO a couple of times, and whenever he speaks so fast, and it's so much information
Yeah.
that for, I think, the younger crowd, they just soak it in. For the older crowd, they have a hard time keeping up, but they love it still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so every time a book comes out, I take a snapshot of it and send it to him. And he gets a book out probably every month, it seems like.
Yeah.
Good
It's
guy.
interesting
Wow.
if he does like an ebook or if he does like the reading, the audiobook. There we go.
Yeah.
I wonder if he reads it because I can't imagine him reading his book to people and he's just saying 90 words a minute. But one thing he does do really well now, I think he's caught on to what you're saying, and he'll actually create small little mini breaks in between the sessions to give you time to like
Absorb it.
Process.
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
it was kind of a nice balance.
It's good. He's got a lot of information. Well, it's different this time as opposed to the one in the fall, is y'all be on stage a little bit this time.
Yeah.
Talking.
I know.
I'm nervous.
So
I'm not
fun.
going to lie. I get nervous about that stuff.
I
Oh,
feel
you'll be
like it's
great.
exciting.
Come on. That'll
Yeah.
be great.
It's like
It's
an
fun.
exciting nervousness.
You're
you know?
talking to
Yeah.
that many people all the time on your phone and on your camera. You just don't see them.
Yeah.
It is
It's the same
so different. We were recently somewhere with a ton of people, and it was kind of cool for us because number one, we got to meet a lot of people that follow us in person. And it's always so nice getting to see people face to face and being like, oh, when we're staring at a camera, like we're not looking at you face to face. We don't know. But when we get to meet people in person, when we go back and we're recording, it's like, oh, I know that like Michelle's going to watch this. I know that Amber's going to watch this. It made it so much more personal. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's like we could put a face to the name that shows up.
Yeah.
Well, that's what our conference is really exposed to us, which is we had a television show for many years. People were watching the TV show. Yeah. And when you have that kind of one-way communication, YouTube gives you some comments and some other things, but television really doesn't. We have these conferences, people come from all over the country. Even this weekend, we have 35 states represented. We have people from the UK, from Canada coming in.
Oh, and
and that's what the power of the digital media is now. Yes. Back in the day, it was television. You have these people that are watching you, they're consuming you, they love you, and then you finally meet them, and it kind of blows your mind.
It does.
If you're not ready for it, you're kind of like, wow, this is real. When I put this out there, people are enjoying it. Your content's great. I've gotten to know you a little bit on YouTube and on social. I enjoy it. I watched a video. I want to talk about this with you. So you just built a house.
We did.
and I noticed on your last video you did a lot in the house. So we're remodeling a house right now. We talked about this.
And you're living in it.
No, we're not living in it. There's no that would not be possible.
Okay, good. I'm like, okay, that's
a good investment in your marriage.
Number one, maybe don't live inside of renovation.
Don't do
okay.
that. I run a marriage ministry. My father's a marriage expert. Remodeling a house, building a house is one of the most stressful things on a marriage.
Yeah.
There's not enough resource out there for couples to deal with it. So I want to ask you guys straight up, no lying. Was it stressful at all to do that? Were the decisions that I'm in the middle of as stressful for you guys? I noticed you selected gold hardware.
Yes.
Which is beautiful, by the way.
Yeah.
So we have gold hardware. Literally last night we were at the house holding up different hardware. Does this look like a yellow gold or a pink gold?
Yeah.
We need to make a decision. By like tonight. So we're having these conversations, and it's that times 10: paint, cabinets, slabs.
Times like 1,000.
So many
lighting.
things that you just never realize need a decision, and yet for some reason the smallest things are so difficult.
So difficult.
Yeah.
Your house looks beautiful. So how did y'all get through that? You guys give me some marriage advice right now.
Well, it was definitely difficult, and there were seasons, especially financially, because this is our first home, and we were choosing to, for our first home, go a little bit like, maybe a third or a second or third home.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of stress there, but with us, currently trying to get pregnant and hoping to have several babies, we're like, well, why don't we go ahead and get the dream home now? And so there's a lot of financial pressure, but a quick little piece of advice that I think is really helpful is to have like systems in place that help you communicate better. We're learning so much. I mean, we're only coming up on our third year of marriage, but we take marriage super seriously because we're business partners. And so if we are disconnecting emotionally, we have to show up at work, and we can't work if we're disconnected. So we will squash things really quick because we have to. And so we're putting together different systems. Whether we have family team meetings or you're discussing things like, okay, there's a green, yellow, and red type of like selection. Green means that she can make a decision without me at all. Yellow means I just want to approve it, and red means I want to be actively involved in this. And so then you're setting your expectations for your decisions, and then you can kind of see, okay, I see you value this a lot, but I also value this, and we both value this. So how do we communicate around this? But I noticed a lot of arguments were happening around things that I didn't really care about, or things she didn't really care about. But it was just like when you're inviting an opinion to us, you're inviting someone's thoughts into a situation where they didn't really care about it in the first place. If we would have just communicated those things in the first place, oh my word, it would save so much time.
Yeah. And I will say we got blessed in terms of we have a very similar
You're welcome.
aesthetic.
You're welcome.
Like we actually really like very similar interior designs. I say I'm probably a little bit more on the lighter and brighter, and he probably could go a little bit moodier. And so we meet in the middle, and he got his own little man cave.
Yeah,
wait, so when does this come out?
Oh,
when does this drop? Next week.
Okay.
Well, he has a secret situation that hasn't been discussed online yet.
Yeah. Well, hold on. First off, that's about the house. That's not about anything
the house
regarding me.
Yeah.
So, her and I have a few secret rooms that we're going to reveal.
Okay.
And so
like pull a lever and a door opens kind of.
I can't share anything.
Oh, man. We talked about this. Listen, this is one of my love languages. anything like a hidden passageway, secret room, I told Stephanie I would totally geek out on that
You
in
would
my house
love
if I
our
could.
house.
I would have fireplaces
Yeah.
that moved that you could walk through. I would have bookcases. I would have all kinds.
Are you going to try to do anything like that?
I may or may not have a secret room where I keep certain things. Maybe.
What kind of things?
I'm kidding. Well, we're in Texas.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
those kinds of things.
Picking
Torn
up
out
what you're
from
putting
Florida,
down.
so
Yeah.
Love it.
But that is an
awesome.
important feature of any house that you're building. You have to think through that way in the front of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to retrofit certain things. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you have
Yeah.
plenty of secret rooms, secret passages. It's
Yeah.
a fun
Yeah.
house.
it's fun, and we live at home, we work at home. We wanted to make it a space that our family's so excited to just
Yeah.
live inside of and not want to leave all the time. So we
Yeah.
purposely made some bedrooms a little bit smaller so they're more encouraged to be in the living area.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just getting ready to take notes of different family events to have people over, and
I mean, I think we moved in, and the day we moved in for the next 2 weeks, we had company.
Yeah.
Which was,
not the day, it was the day
I don't
after
recommend.
we had a boundary there where
we did. The first night we were alone, but then every
obvious
night
reasons.
after, for 14 days, we had company because we just happened to move in the week before Thanksgiving.
Wow.
So then all of my family came in. We had friends from California come
They
in.
tested out
and
all your decisions right away.
immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. We were like, okay, maybe we don't recommend like 2 weeks straight of company,
Yeah.
but the house got tested and it was so inviting and so fun and comfortable, which the rental we were in previously, if you had 3 people in it, it was crowded. But one of our, like, what we feel like is a gifting is hospitality. And so we went through a big season where we didn't feel like we could walk in that. And so I think the coolest part of being in this home is being able to invite people in and it being so prayed over. And we actually, when it was in, what phase would you call it? When it was just the wood.
Yeah, like the framing.
The framing,
Yeah,
the
look at
framing.
me. I
There
built
you
a
go.
home.
Yeah, that's
We were able
Carpenter.
to go in and write scripture all over the framing. And we
That's
actually
cool.
had
Yeah,
all
that's
of our
great.
community like
Our
send in
audience and,
prayers.
yeah.
And so we felt like it really is like a prayed over house. Like the Holy Spirit resides there, which is cool.
By the way, quick question for you. Whenever you notice something on your wife that you maybe need to just do a quick little adjustment to,
What do you got to fix?
There's this thing.
oh, just do it. Yeah.
Okay. I was just like, it's like if someone has something in their teeth.
Yes.
I'm one of those, I'll tell you right away.
Please.
And so, but some people just let you ride.
Yeah, it's an odd. If it depends on how much you know somebody, but if y'all are watching this back some point and she's like, "Why didn't you tell me?
Uh-huh.
I had that out." Then
Exactly.
you feel better now.
Yes.
And it shows people that it's okay to do that.
Always tell me.
I would rather, yes, unless it's something super embarrassing, then we just need to stop down and let's deal
You
with
can be
it.
very discreet.
Right.
know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's certain things that you can't just
Call
gloss
out.
over.
Yeah. I mean, but you can do different tricks. Like you can do the whole sneeze trick, like
Yep.
something in your teeth, and you could do that one. I'm just kidding. No, but I will pull someone aside, just be like, hey, I want to tell you something. And then you just, hey, you got something in your teeth. I just want to let you know.
Well, tell me if I have something in my teeth, please. I'm not eating anything right now, but something could
We'll let you
mysteriously
know.
arrive. Okay, so I want to talk about something. This is interesting to me because this is a world that y'all live in that's fairly new. The industry of influencer, having this audience base that supports you, that you love, that it's an idea that every day you're building content to support a community that didn't exist 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
you're benefiting from it. So you built a house that you're showing everybody. The world has access to certain parts of your life.
Yeah.
The video I just watched, I think you woke up and showcasing, I'm waking up, going to Pilates, out in the car, and there's these moments where you're exposing more intimate sides of your life to couples. So speak to how that plays out. I mean, first of all, the why of it, but second of all, how does that play out for you guys on a daily basis to get time off camera?
Yeah.
Boundaries.
Yeah. Boundaries. And, we do only post 2 videos a week.
Yeah.
And so if we say vlog, that would be one day. And so there's several other days. And we actually aren't the best vloggers. We prefer to do a sit down encouraging video. That's really our heart.
Yeah.
But vlogging, obviously, if Tori and I run out of things to talk about, because obviously we don't know everything. And so vlogging is a chance for us to invite people into that life. And but there's a few things regarding how we go about our privacy. Is we don't share anything that we wouldn't share openly with you or with them.
Sure.
We, and so if there's anything that's like a tier of, where that's just not their information, then we don't. But we're also pretty open people. And one of the biggest things that we learn.
Well, hold on, time out. So
I love a timeout.
He said we're open people. Time out.
In the video, you're in bed at some point. She walks in, and you're like in bed. And if somebody came in with a camera and I was in bed, I would be like, I'm going to sue you.
Okay, but he knew we were vlogging.
No, I know. Yeah. But that's a very intimate moment, and so it's fun. It's charming. It's something that allows us to know who you are. That's what. Most people, they really want to know the real you. Yeah. But that is vulnerable. So is it something that you feel like there's a line there, those boundaries? Yeah. Where is it? Because sometimes you kind of can get into a rhythm of having to talk about things that your audience wants to know. Yeah. But it might be more personal. It might feel a little bit encroaching upon some areas where that's not necessarily where you want to give up space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really comes to discernment in the moment sometimes, because there's topics we're very open about, like even regarding, trying to get pregnant, which I feel like is a very like close to the heart topic. But for us, we've been very open about it almost since like the beginning. And it's really cool because we have a very special type of community. Like truly, we're very blessed with who our audience is. I know a lot of other people in the industry that get a lot of hate, and for us, we get a lot of love and a lot of prayer. Yeah. And so for us, we're like, okay, well, let's invite people into the aspects of our life that we want to be supported in prayer, because then it almost becomes like a group victory, a group testimony, because there's so many people like invested in these seasons of our lives that might be harder. And I think being open about stuff that you're struggling with makes it so much more real to people, because I think there's like this image sometimes that, it's the highlight reel. We all talk about it. It's like, okay, well, social media is, you go through and then you get stuck in comparison and like, oh, they're getting this. Why am I not getting this, et cetera. And so I think when you do open up about, it's tough. Like there's seasons that it's hard to walk through and you're wondering why, but in that unknown where you don't know exactly what God is doing, like you can praise him in the hallway, like you can praise him during the test. And I think it just reminds people like, okay, well, everyday life is not going to be a highlight reel. Like everyday life, you're going to face trials and tribulations, but we can praise him inside of it. And so I think opening up those parts of our lives, although it might be hard sometimes, because when you open it up, you're opening up to questions and things that you're like, opinions, maybe I don't always want that every second, but
well, if you don't,
go ahead.
I was going to say something. I just want to piggyback off something you said, where I feel like the past 3 or 4 years, we're shifting from a very curated mindset from audiences and just people to a very just authentic, I think we're getting to an age of authenticity. And of course, you can be authentic even just with this simple conversation. You don't have to show those super intimate moments like that to be authentic. Yeah. But I think it's just being real. And I think that's what stood out to me so much, just as a person and as an audience member of XO.
Absolutely.
Was those sidebar conversations. Yeah. Where I've heard so much great teaching. I love it. It's cool. But sometimes what I need is someone sitting next to me and say, hey, I go through that too.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that there's so many people putting out so much content. And when you think about where these people are like getting their lifestyle encouragement content, well, if they want tips on makeup, but what if we talked about that, or Tori talked about that, but it also had to do with identity, and there's different things that we weave in that are much more faith-based and encouraging rather than conversations of, just Tinder and whatever else, and so it's kind of definitely trying to occupy space, but there is a dance to it, and a lot of it's touch and feel. The influencer world right now is the wild, wild west. People are still trying to figure it out.
It is. Now, shout out to Salem and Andrew, who's in the room. So there's some structure behind it. That's not just it is the wild, wild west, but there's smarter systems in play now where people are trying to define the kind of the ecosystem that you want to live in. That's important. I mean, in order to have this be a 5-10 year plan, you kind of have to have an overarching plan to manage all of that, because it is chaotic. I mean, we've talked about the messages you receive. There's a lot of work that goes into managing a community, having those relationships. You kind of need somebody to help structure some of that stuff. So there's groups out there doing a great job with that. But what is the 5-10 year plan? We're asking you guys to contribute content. I feel like y'all have a valuable perspective on life and on marriage and where you are. Is it more of teaching, speaking, driving things to a point of conclusion where you're on a speaking tour or books, or is it more just staying true to the authenticity of social media and YouTube and those sorts of things?
Yes.
All of it. Amen, brother. Preach it. Yeah.
No, I think that it's funny how God works, because I feel like every time we try to create a 5 or 10 year plan, for me at least, I feel like God giggles a little bit, because he's like, oh, that's so cute. Because I feel like every 5 to 10 years of my life has been so vastly different than I thought it would have been, 5 years prior. But in a dream world, yes to all of those things. We want to build a family. We want to continue building the community. We want to continue building out content that we feel like brings value and truly like helps people not walk through some of the stuff maybe we had to walk through the hard way. Like, our why behind the channel has always been, we want to be the people that we wish we had, when we were a little bit younger and didn't have as many wise people in our life.
So I want to bring up a Wall Street Journal article that we found this week. It's a recent one, and it's on the screen behind me, in front of me. It's on both screens. We have 2 screens.
Nice.
This is right behind you. This is technology at its finest. But so this is an article that talks about, there's a myth that if you get married in your 20s, that your chances of divorce skyrocket. The younger you get married, the harder it's going to be, because your seasons change. You're too young to know. But this Wall Street Journal article said, and I actually did not realize this either, but there's a proposal season. 40% of all proposals happen between Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day.
No way. I didn't know that.
I could see that.
So it makes sense now.
Yeah.
I proposed in November. I'm not going to talk about that. That was 25 years ago. The season of proposals is happening, but they're saying in this article, the studies show, as long as you don't cohabitate before marriage.
Yeah.
In fact, if you don't cohabitate before marriage and you get married younger, your chance of success is much higher. So you guys reach, I think, a lot of younger people.
Yeah.
And that topic of cohabitation, waiting for marriage, feels a little bit. It feels like a little bit of a rough conversation to have with a broad net.
We love that conversation.
We love it. We talk about it all the time.
But I feel like there has to be the standard bearers. There has to be people that are willing to stand up and say it makes a difference. Now there's a Wall Street Journal article to support that.
Isn't that funny
thing that we all know.
And it's not like a Christian article.
No, it's not.
It's actually, what's so crazy is it's taking religion out of it completely, where it's not like, oh, it's a Christian practice to not cohabitate. Something that I always tell my girlfriends who are thinking about it or talking about it, or I hear a sidebar conversation about it, etc. I'm like, do you want to be on an audition to be his wife? Because when you're living with him and giving him all the benefits of being a wife, then you're literally just auditioning for the part.
Without the protection and commitment of being a wife.
In the covenant. Yeah. There's no protection. There's a door that you can freely walk out of. And so I think that they're walking into it without all the information, from a worldly perspective of, oh, well, you're going to save money, or they'll make decisions not based on, I don't know. For me, it's like there's statistical facts where if you want to have a thriving marriage, don't cohabitate first. You know?
I mean, if you look at the divorce rate, I think everybody freaks out about it. But if you remove people who got married without graduating from high school, if you remove people who a lot of people have several divorces, if you remove that, and then if you remove people who cohabitated, the divorce rate's extremely low. And it's just one of those things where it's actually no, people who are doing this are being very successful. And one of the plays I go when talking about cohabitation is just that, like, invest in your relationship, invest in your marriage. And I always say that one of the reasons why we got engaged and married so fast is because we didn't live together. And so we were long distance for 7 months. She moved to LA to be in the same city as me. We got engaged the 8th month and then married 5 months later. So it took about a year. And it's one of those things where, because we weren't living together and just playing house, we had deep conversations that really matter to the success of your marriage. You know, how do you feel about disciplining children? How do you feel about your generosity with the church? How do you feel about this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how would you feel if I lost my job? You know, like deep questions. And you get to really know the person because you spend so much time just talking to them that you move faster. So then you can even get into a place where you're living with them even faster, but it's under the protection of the covenant.
Right.
It's a natural progression of a lot of people's relationships. It's, you know, you date, there's some serious talk about moving in together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the test drive scenario.
Yeah.
With the hope of getting married. But if you're living together and you're playing house.
What's the rush?
Yeah, what's the rush? And there really isn't a significant. And then if you actually think about it, the pressure that people have to have a wedding and the money that goes into it, the I don't want to expose what y'all watch, but I'm watching a show that they just had a big wedding in England. It was expensive. It looked very expensive, but it was a billionaire family. I'm not going to talk about what it was, but you can figure it out. But anyway, I was thinking to myself, they had to sign a prenup beforehand, and then the future wife was admitting that she had an affair right before they got married.
Whoa.
And I was thinking about all the money going into this stupid wedding.
Yeah.
And what a awful investment it is if you don't start right.
Yeah.
But people, the wedding is the thing for most people. So even if they're living together,
it's about the party.
I don't really think they're even thinking about the covenant side of marriage. They're just thinking, I want that moment. I want that moment where we both say I do, we say our vows. But that isn't really taken as seriously as it should be. And if you look at the longevity of a marriage that lasts, you're going to go through some seasons where it's rough.
Tough.
There is a growing trend of gray divorce, and it's people who are a little bit older in life.
Yeah.
Kids are out of the house, and their parents just fell out of love. They don't have that desire anymore. It's a real thing. I have friends that have gone through that. There's a lot of people out there, good people, but they just fall out of love because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
The way you start right, or even just the way you start makes so much difference in how you last in your marriage. And you're right, if you subtract out all of the environments of marriage that are, the remarriage statistics, cohabitation, stressors that come into marriage, you can have a really good chance of success.
Yeah.
But people just don't think through a lot of that stuff on the front side of marriage, which affects all of it. But you guys met. You'll have a very unique story. So you're Miss Florida. Well, I want to say something. It's one flex to say you're a model. It's another flex to say you're a model in London. I am not jealous very often, but that's pretty cool.
My friends used to make fun of me because the whole international model thing.
International male model.
And my friends they would put me in their phone as that, and I just got ragged on it for the longest time.
I think I have your number. I am now going to put you as international male model. Does that embarrass you? That's something you should feel?
I love it. I love getting ribbed. I grew up with an older brother, and so I feel like guys and their love languages are a little bit different. Where it's like if I'm making fun of you, I'm saying, "Hey, I love you." If I'm like I'm pushing your shoulder, it's like a hug. And I feel like guys, it's a little different sometimes.
The sarcasm is my love language. So
I didn't catch that.
No, hidden doors, hidden rooms and houses. Sarcasm are equally loves of mine.
Incredible.
Yeah, we grew up in a very sarcastic household. Both my wife and I both. And so there is a fine line between sarcasm
and mean.
Yeah, just the full-on fight mode. It's something for me where if I'm joking with you, it means I love you. It means I want to build a friendship.
You feel
relationship.
close.
Yeah. But it is definitely a fine line. So, but you were Miss Florida. The environment y'all both were in probably wasn't chock full of people that were encouraging you to.
Absolutely not.
Get right. No. So talk about the relationship because you grew up in a Christian home.
Yes.
You got saved in
college.
Yeah.
So all of that, the spiritual component, how you met, talk about that a little bit.
You want to take this one?
Go? Okay, I'll go. We always tell the story slightly differently, so it's funny which day you get it. But we originally met. I was actually watching my teen at the time, so we were at the Miss America's Outstanding Teen pageant, and all of the state representatives were there. So I was full gown, crown, sash, like the whole get up. And my friend Chloe comes walking up, and I see her walking with like this super handsome, attractive guy. I'm like, who is she walking up with?
And then I was walking next to that guy. So
No, he was the guy. And he comes walking up, and he had come from Comic-Con.
Oh, okay.
it was at the same convention center in Orlando.
Yeah.
I was there for Comic-Con, so.
And he ran into our mutual friend Chloe, walks up, and he looks at me and he's like, am I supposed to know who you are? Because I like have all the stuff on. I was like, who is this guy?
I didn't mean it in a mean way. I meant it as in you look very important. Like, I'm like, so, you know, who are you? Like, you have the crown, the sash, the gown, everything, and I'm here for Comic-Con. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. And so it was a very
Were you dressed up?
brief
I was
encounter.
not.
Okay.
No, but he did end up on stage that night.
Yeah.
Like hyping the crowd up or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's very brief encounter. We ended up becoming Facebook friends. And Chad likes to say that I slid into the DMs.
She
but
100% slid into the
I feel
DMs.
like this was before that was a thing.
You slid into
but-
my direct messages.
Okay. Well, he had posted a caption that was talking about how the travel life is not as glamorous as everyone makes it out to be. And at the time, I was traveling about 5,000 miles a month in my car most of the time by myself. And I'm like, this is not glamorous. It's just not what everyone thinks it is. They think it's crowns and sash and these amazing events all the time, but like the majority of my life was spent in my car, reevaluating my life every day, you know? And I wrote back to him and I was like, hey, your caption really resonated. He went on to say that he had started this small group, Models for Christ, in Miami. So we met in Orlando, but we were both actually living in Miami at the time. And I said, can you tell me more about this group? I have no friends in Miami at all. Like, I was living with my director. It was pageant stuff 24/7, getting ready for Miss America stuff. And he was like, oh, I have so much to say. We should just grab coffee.
Ooh. You know how that works.
I do.
As a believer.
Yep.
That's like, you ready? You know,
the first coffee date. But in my head, I don't know what it was. I was not thinking it was a date, but believe me, as soon as I walked to this little breakfast spot, I was like, oh, this is a date.
Oh,
okay.
Was he dressed up? Was he looking?
I mean,
Well,
it was
Miami.
it was like
I was
South
Miami
Beach,
dressed.
Oh,
so
okay,
it was
Miami.
like
I got it.
casual.
so I was wearing a Speedo. No, I was trying to win her
gold
over.
chains.
Yeah.
So we had breakfast, which ended up, we went to the beach and then we had Cuban coffee and then we had dinner. So it ended up being like a whole day affair. And then unfortunately, a couple weeks later, we went on 2 or 3 dates.
It's like cue the sad music for me right now. So when the camera zooms in, it's just me looking down and there's leaves falling. It's just sad music while she's voicing this
Say it in
part.
Spanish because you're learning Spanish.
Oh.
Yo soy sad.
And so I was not in a good season of my life at all. My parents were currently going through a divorce. My brother was really sick at the time. I had just kind of gotten out of a toxic relationship that I still kind of had that soul tie to and I just wasn't in a very healthy place. And so I might have friend zoned Chad.
Ooh.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And looking back, we're always like so sad we didn't start dating like back then. But I do believe like God's timing is the best timing. Like I had so much growing up in the Lord to do. And I think talk about starting strong. I don't think we would have started strong if we had dated then.
That's a tough season. That's hard.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a tough season for me. And what was so crazy was everyone on the outside, because I was Miss Florida at the time, just thought I had my life so together and everything was perfect and everything was great. But internally, everything was falling apart. So I was having to, wear something on the outside and then internally deal with a bunch of stuff. And so we actually ended up dating other people. We stayed friends for years. And then we actually lived in London at the same time. So when he was living there modeling.
London's a cool city.
It is.
It is cool.
It'll be beautiful when it's finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about Japan earlier, but my favorite place too in the world is Scotland and that area. There's something about all that UK region that's pretty amazing.
I went to the Open in Scotland.
Oh my gosh.
It was beautiful.
I'm so jealous
Very
of-
rainy.
I'm jealous.
but-
I didn't go to
And
that.
cold.
It is. Nobody realizes
Very
how
rainy and cold, yeah.
the weather's not pleasant, the food's not pleasant, but for some reason it's magical.
It is.
regardless.
If I had been dressed better, I think I would have enjoyed it more. But I did not dress
That's
appropriately.
like the most classic response ever for you right now. If
I
I would have
know.
been dressed better for this,
I know.
I would have enjoyed it
well,
more.
when you're really cold, if I just had a better coat, I feel like I would have enjoyed it more.
After we record this with you, she's going to go shopping for EXO marriage conference.
Yeah, 100%.
And so she's really going to enjoy the conference now.
Because I'll be
She's gonna
dressed
be- yeah, I
appropriately.
get the gear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. But anyways, long story short, we were just friends when we were both living in London. I felt like there was all of these little things where God was like, hello, you two.
I would also love to say this real quick. While we
Yes.
were friends, we had so much respect for each other.
We did.
Like I genuinely thought she was just a true gem. I didn't take the whole friend zone thing too personally, even though like obviously it hurts your pride, but like I thought she was an incredible person, and I hope that she felt the same, because we stayed in contact, not
Yeah.
like texting all the time,
Not inappropriately,
but like a
but yeah.
really healthy respect for this person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so when we met up when we met up in London, it was just like super casual. I had another girl with me, and I even remember like leaving, and she was like, so wait, why are you two not together? Like there was just always that.
She did say something else too.
She did, but it's
You wanna
maybe
share
not
that?
appropriate.
Oh, this is a PG-13 / PG-13 plus show, so you can say whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
She was just like, I know this is weird, but I just felt like y'all wanted to touch each other the whole time. And I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Nothing's changed.
Okay, well, that's good.
She was like, the chemistry was real, and now I'm blushing. But anyways, this story is very long. Fast forward another year, and he not finally, but he broke up with his girlfriend, and we met up. We started talking again. And now this time I realized he wasn't ready.
Are you familiar with that Kevin Hart special when he's like, I wasn't ready, but he wants to be? That was me.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We've been there.
Yeah. And so he didn't like want to admit that he wasn't ready yet, but I didn't have the peace about it yet. And so when I was praying, the Lord was like, love is a friendship set ablaze. Focus on y'all's friendship. I was like, oh, this is annoying, because
So
I
then
really
she gives
like
me the
him.
call, and she's like, I'm living in New York at the time, and are you back still in
Tampa,
Florida? Yeah, in
yeah.
Tampa. And she's like, by the way, like, we can just be friends. And I'm like, not again. No.
again.
I'm like, I can't believe this is happening again.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
Yeah.
She was so right. I was not ready. I had not
Yeah.
healed. And like, honestly,
So how old were you both at this time?
26.
Yeah.
I think I was 26. So
I was 24. Yeah.
23, 24. Yeah. And so I was getting counseling and getting ready to move to actually go to seminary in California.
Yeah.
And I really did need to heal. And so honestly, I just commend her so much, because and this is one of the most special things about her, and one of the most special things about marriage in general, is whenever someone cares more about your relationship with God than they care about your relationship with them. And she said, it's more important for you to connect with God than it is with me. And I'm willing to not pursue a relationship with you because you need to spend time with the Lord. And to me, that said mountains. That said absolutely mountains. That, where in previous relationships, it was always, I'm changing myself from what God wants for me to fit into the narrative that this person wants for me. And instead, she's like saying, I'm going to change my narrative of what I want for myself to make sure I encourage him in the narrative God has written for him since the beginning.
It's good. Very good.
You
Yeah.
crushed it.
Y'all were deep. Y'all were really deep right that time.
Yeah.
It was hard.
I mean, I was heartbroken, and I was seeking, and I'm like, Lord, what am I supposed to do? And I was asking all the questions, and I don't want to say I missed that time, but it was probably the time I felt the closest to God is in my deepest state, where I was just
Makes
hurting
sense.
and then moved to California, and a few months later I really started to feel like myself. And then there's redemption, baby, because I conned her into going on a date.
you'll
He
con. Okay.
literally conned me.
The bait and switch.
Uh-huh.
What's that phrase? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yep.
I don't know what the third one is, but I won. I won.
He starts calling again. I was like, oh, hey, like, what's up? Because
What's
we
up?
were just friends at that point. Like, it had been a couple months. And I knew what that healing process looked like, because I had to go through it. And that was why I recognized, like, you haven't gone through this process yet. And I think that you need to go through it. So when he started calling, I was like, oh, I can tell he's like, he's done some work with
So
Jesus.
Were you plugged into a church at that point?
Yes. Yeah. I was a huge part of a Tampa church, a church in Tampa, and had some amazing people around me. My mentor was absolutely incredible. But he called and he's like, hey, I'm going to be in your neck of the woods for my old pastor in Miami's wedding. Really cool redemption story, what the Lord did there. And he was like, it's really casual, a daytime wedding. Would love to like just go together, like, cause I don't want to go by myself. And I was like, well, I don't really have anything going on. Like, yeah, I could do that. really, truly thinking so casual.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them where it was, babe?
Yeah, it was about 4 hours south. And
That's not my neck of the woods.
Yeah, but hey, I
It
was
was
in
a
LA.
road trip.
It was in Miami.
Oh, in Miami.
And she was in Tampa. But I was living in LA, and so that's her neck of the woods. I mean, it's 3,000 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
And so shout out to Greg Howard and Gabby Howard for planning the wedding that would help us reconnect.
Also, keep in mind, it was his dad's birthday. There was a whole thing where I stayed with his family for the weekend because it was getting us closer to
Is this
Miami.
part of your plan? Did you map it all out? Did you have?
Listen, I don't look like much, but I think a lot. Okay. And
I can see the wheels turning in your head.
Yeah, I do need to rotate them every once in a while.
Oh my goodness.
But 100%, I think we were finally in both healthy places, and I just wasn't gonna miss it, because I knew the value that of her, and I was just, like, as you get older, you start to weed out things that you thought was more important. I heard this great panel speech thing from Rich Wilkerson, and there was several other people on the panel, but he said something so profound, and he said actually a lot of things, but one of the things was that what keeps you at 25 and 30 won't keep you at 55 and 60. And so for me, after previous relationships, I learned so much because honestly, like, I'm a relationship type of guy. I wanted to be married. I don't know if every guy feels like that, but I was really excited to, even to the point where I idolized marriage. And some of my friends in California had to headbutt me a little bit to get me out of that. But I was so excited for it. I took it seriously.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I'm going to start seeking things that are healthy inside of people. And then I just keep going back to her. I'm like, this is, why am I going to entertain anything else when she's right there? And so, yeah, I put together a plan.
Well, guys, the pursuit is a big part of big part of everybody's love story. I mean, typically there's a pursuit mode. It's a gear that you flip into. You go, I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm ready to pursue hard.
Yeah.
I'm ready to pursue fast. And once you get in that mode, once guys get into that mode, as long as she's not putting up roadblocks, it kind of works, in your favor, because women like sometimes to be pursued.
Yeah, totally.
I know it's 2022. I guess a woman could pursue a man. I don't know. But in my world, the same thing happened. I started pursuing Stephanie. There is something to this law of pursuit that we talk about at XO, where whenever you're pursuing one another before marriage, it works. And then you get married and you stop pursuing. That moment of pursuit stops. So it sounds like you were on full on pursuit mode, bro.
And I think one of my favorite things about Tori is that in similar or in different relationships, I had to my pursuit required me earning someone's love. But my pursuit of Tori led me to find out that she gave her love freely to me. And I didn't have to feel like I was constantly under pressure to entertain her or I'm afraid I'm going to lose her. She gave it to me freely regarding just like her love and acceptance of me and all my, golf bag of issues. And that was probably my favorite part, is that it was like, the whole idea of operating from love versus for love. And so I get the same outcome of honoring her with the best of my ability. I love that I get to do that, but I do it from knowing that she already accepts me. She already loves me just the same way Christ loves me. But now that propels me into wanting to do so much more for her and honor her and respect her. It's like my favorite part, because I didn't realize how I was in the rat race before. It's like the sunk cost fallacy, where people will just stay in a relationship that they know is unhealthy just because, we've put in like 2 or 3 good years.
Yeah.
And that's like, no, that's not it. Because do you want to set yourself up? I mean, I have a bunch of friends who are just like, I would rather be single and happy than together and miserable.
Totally.
Because relationships that's why I think marriage is such a protection. Like the covenant is such a protection because it is so difficult, but it's so edifying, such a glorifying and sanctifying process that you need the fruit and the benefits of marriage in order for it to succeed.
Mark, that's a good we're going to pull that on YouTube. It preaches. Good job.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I get jacked up when you talk about love.
Like, get on stage this weekend and you guys talk like that, and everyone's going to be, they're just going to be putting your hands. You're going to be great.
Yeah. I'm going to be like, so love, I just.
Okay. Last thing I want to talk about. So this is a passion that I'm in right now. So crypto.
Yeah.
And wine is something I'm working on.
He'll talk crypto. I'll talk wine.
I mentioned this to y'all last time. I'm working on a wine company idea, wine for couples, right? So date night bottles, anniversary bottles, something like that. I'm also working on how to infuse NFTs into wine. So this is a project I'm working on.
But man, you are another level.
Well, like the ideas are there, the execution of it. That's a rabbit trail.
That's where Eric is. I don't know where he's at anymore, but we need Eric and Dan.
So this is something. So at XO, we're trying to create environments where couples can come together, right? So not just the conferences, but anytime we just started XO Fitness, so couples can work out together.
It's fun.
Most of my friends, believers, enjoy wine, champagne, that kind of thing, especially around special occasions.
Yeah.
So I just believe it's another opportunity, and I'm sorry, if you read your Bible, there's a ton of wine in the Bible.
Yeah.
So there's no spiritual side of it that I feel that should have a conviction to it, unless you have a problem. So with the wine idea, it's about if you guys are celebrating your anniversary on the 16th of February, that you'd have a bottle that not only just is a great bottle of wine, but something that actually speaks more to the covenant. Yeah. Remembering the covenant, building a relationship around a bottle of wine. Or a bottle of champagne.
Love that.
So working on that, and then NFT side of it, there's so many new things out there with crypto, blockchain technology, NFT. Somebody on our staff earlier said, "Are you talking about those monkey gifs?"
The apes.
The apes. I know. It's the board ape.
Okay.
I know what it is. But this person who will remain unnamed didn't.
I'm looking over here to see who it is right now. It's you? Oh my gosh, I love it.
Amazing.
Because I promise this is one of those situations. Stephanie and I have been married for almost 24 years. I could tell she was so bored. I was trying to explain NFTs to her last night, and it's a very difficult conversation to start from the very beginning of why NFTs.
Yeah.
Why Eminem spent so much money on a Bored Ape Yacht Club. GIF, NFT, whatever. But it's real. There's billions of dollars going into that, to the metaverse, to everything.
It's crazy.
So the idea of crypto, NFT, even in y'all's world, even in talking about it, dealing with it, it's part of the vernacular. How are you? I want to know your strategy. I want to know if you're in the game, and I want to know if you believe in it.
I absolutely believe in it. And for those who don't know, an NFT is a non-fungible token, which in the most basic sense is, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a digital asset.
It is.
It's a digital asset.
It's a unique identifier on the blockchain that nobody can replicate.
Yeah. And so it's like, imagine there's the Mona Lisa at the Louvre in France, but there's that one, right? And so imagine you can only have one of those in the metaverse. But I know people joking like, okay, you could just take a picture of it. But it's a real thing where people are building into the metaverse where there's digital assets and worlds and neighborhoods and homes and stuff. And I feel
so churches there?
It's so early. I hope
What'd you say?
Is there
churches? Are there churches there?
There are. Life Church.
Of course,
Craig Rochelle.
Of course.
No way.
Oh my word.
Craig Rochelle, you can go to the Life Church Metaverse campus.
That's
amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we're not in NFTs yet. I just got the app where I could start to look into different comic book ones, and we have been, honestly, we invest all our money back into ourselves right now. We're hoping that'll compound a little faster than, but we do own some crypto.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. I think it's awesome. I don't fully understand everything regarding like how Ethereum is more of like it's like a system that like a Bitcoin or something would run on, I guess. Do you know?
Yeah, no. Well, Bitcoin, the blockchain technology is Bitcoin, and then Ethereum launched theirs. I'm gonna get real far outside of over my skis pretty quick.
Where's the wine?
The wine. Okay, so well, first of all, I've sent an article to Maggie. She may can pull it up. The very first physical home sales happening in NFTs. So this NFT is assigned to a physical house that if you buy that NFT, you own this house. So it's moving from a digital space into a physical space.
Wow.
There are wine companies out there where you can buy an NFT that's assigned to a physical bottle of rare wine in a cellar. Right now, the one I saw is in London, and you can resell it. That's the beautiful thing of it, is that I think in the marketplace, there's a great podcast if you're in the crypto space or not. A great place to start is called Bankless. It's a podcast. There's a Substack site on it. And these guys talk about, it's called Bankless because they are literally trying to destroy the old world bank guard and try to start
decentralization.
Yes. Try to start a new pathway system, for people to not have to rely on a bank.
Yeah.
Meaning, because just like what's happened in current events, if you're tied to a governmental currency and that government wants to do anything with that,
Yep.
then you're at the whim and mercy of that government. But if you have something that's independent of that and you can trade it, then you take them out of the equation.
Yeah.
The banks hate this because they make so much money off of it.
Yeah.
But there's an opportunity for us as human beings, people of the world, to create a commerce system that's not based upon governmental exchange rates and those sorts of things.
And there are, I mean, I'm what you call a conspiracy therapist, where I help people to understand conspiracies. And I do believe that there's movement absolutely to stop crypto, just like, who killed the electric car back then. And I think there's a lot of movement against it. And so I'm super interested in this space because I feel like it has so much momentum.
It does.
And of course, things pulled back the past few months, but pullbacks happen. When you look at the spectrum of whenever we bought into ETH, we could lose a lot and still win in ETH. And so it's kind of like looking at the greater picture, especially with Bitcoin and stuff. But
yeah, it intimidates most people. They think about it and they think, I don't know. And they hear news headlines of it going down in value. Bitcoin was at its high back in the later part of 2021. Now it's at the lowest
40.
point. Yeah, it was 37 not too long ago. Now it's up to 40 something. But if you don't have the stomach for it, then it's going to be hard, especially if you're an older investor and you don't have the stomach for it.
Yeah.
But if you do and you can get in and you have just a minor understanding of how and what to buy. Coinbase makes it easy just to buy some stuff. It is the future, I believe. Still, a lot of young people believe the same thing.
I think this could be a great encouragement for people. I don't know if there's any guys or girls out there that are like me, where I'm traditionally a late adopter. So if you see like the product life cycle, at the beginning are the innovators, then there's the early adopters, then there's the early majority, then there's the late majority, and then there's the stragglers.
Yep.
I'm a late majority guy, which means that if a haircut's cool, like 3 years later, I'm like, this is the nicest haircut I've ever seen in my life. Why don't you all have this?
Right.
And so I made a commitment.
And then you're making fun of everybody that has it 3 years later.
Yeah. And
got it.
I made a commitment once we got married that I no longer want to be the guy that just plays from behind. I want to make good decisions. I want to make early decisions. I want to try to be an early majority, if not an early adopter. And so
but the risk is so high. You've got to have the stomach and you've got to have the ability to do all that math and take a chance when nobody else is willing to do it.
Yeah.
And
it takes guts.
But it calls you out to excellence. It calls you out to pursue something and to look into something that is like, wow, I want to provide, protect, and build generations for my family. And I don't just want to just get by with the government tells me how to play the game. And so, of course, there's dangers to everything. But whenever we take a step back, and by the way, I'm not giving financial advice here. I'm not a financial advisor. But I just want people to feel freedom to act. Because I felt so paralyzed to make decisions in my life because I was afraid of losing. And in that area, I lost because I was only getting by. It's like never spending time with the Lord, but you're a Christian. It's like, okay, well, you believe Christ died for your sins, but are you intimately connecting with God?
Yeah.
Did you just spend time in prayer and he just revealed something to you? Like, do you feel alive and free in him? And so I think for me, regarding the crypto NFTs or deciding to build a house, whatever you do, not feeling the shackles of limitations regarding financial resources on you, because that's a big one. It's a huge one that people act in. I remember Tori and I are trying to get pregnant, as we shared earlier. It's taking longer than what we thought, and we appreciate everyone's prayers in that. And we have some stuff that we're trying our best to stay hopeful and positive. But for me as a teenager, I was thinking about, how many kids do I want? And I wanted 2, and I knew their names already. But now I've changed a bit since I got married, and I realized that there's 2 people to decide on this. But then when Tori and I got together, it was like, okay, well, 2 kids, and then 3, and then 4. But now I'm getting to a place where I would just love to have as many kids as God would call me to have.
Yeah.
But I was making a decision, whether it's 1, 2, 3, whatever it may be, off of my own ability, off of my own limitations. And I don't want to live underneath that because I serve a God that's powerful. And why would I put a limitation on God that he didn't ask for and he doesn't live under? And so, I'm not saying go out and have 50 children and go put all your money in Bitcoin right now. What I'm saying is I want you to feel free.
You didn't just say that? I thought you just said that.
I just want people to feel free to design their life underneath God's counsel and wisdom without just this fear of, what would happen?
You've got to take the emotions out of it. there's certain things that are just emotional decisions.
Yeah.
And you got to have a belief system built upon the Word of God and built upon a relationship that you just know that you're going to do the things that you know are the right things for your family to do.
It's the parable of the talents. What happened to the guy who buried the talent?
Yeah.
He lost it.
He did not end up very well.
No.
That was the worst. That was probably the worst outcome that guy could have faced.
So stop burying them.
It's true. Stephanie and I took us forever to have our first child, and then it took us forever to have the second. I think I mentioned that to you when we had dinner that one time. It is a journey that I know that y'all are on, and it takes a little bit of the intimacy out of that process, because there's a rhythm to it that you have to follow, and I just remember it felt like going to the office. Going to the bedroom was like going to the office sometimes.
Yeah.
Let me say that a different way. So a lot of times
you have a great office.
Yeah, it was a great office.
You love work.
Yeah,
work is worship.
It's still one of the most enjoyable things on the planet. But whenever you're like getting a phone call and it's like, I need you here over lunch break.
Yeah.
Because yes. Anyway.
Has that happened?
Yeah.
Speaking from experience.
But then that all that work in that month in the office, then there's that moment where the cycle starts.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, I hate this moment, because there was always that. That happened for 4 years for us, like the first 4 years, and we were on the verge of like IVF talks. We were about to talk to the doctor about that.
Yeah.
So every story is different, and then we thought, with our second one it was gonna be easier. It took another 3 years, and then the third one, that's another story that I don't want to put on the internet because Luke might watch this one day.
Well, I feel like he's going to print this and make an NFT of how red your face got whenever you mention that.
So y'all have whole episodes on your YouTube channel about,
Sex.
We do.
and you're taking pictures in the bed, for the YouTube thumbnail, and it's great. I mean, that's great. But yeah. So I want to talk about we're wrapping up here. So most of our audience is getting to know you, and I'm glad. And they're going to get to know you this weekend at the EXO conference. So thankful that you are part of it. Thank you for being part of the EXO family and being on the team, especially this weekend. Podcast, where can people find Chad and Tori on podcast? I know you have a dude podcast, and you'll have a marriage podcast. So talk about that.
Yeah. So we have a daily devotional podcast called The Mornings with the Masters. And we're also launching a new podcast.
The first episode is with EXO's own talent.
Wow.
It is.
So it's a new
Ashley.
podcast called That's Hot. And it's all about having honest, open, and transparent conversations.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, where it stems from for that one, it'll be the first episode, Lord willing, will be released Valentine's Day. And we have such a heart for like our audience, and our audience, expanded. And we know that there's conversations that they wish they could be a part of, and ones that they want to hear, and questions that they want to be asking. And so that podcast is just going to be Tori and I interviewing or asking questions to experts, speakers, authors.
Love it. It's great.
And just having honest conversations about some tough topics that we feel like people should probably talk about.
Nice work. That's awesome.
And that's why we love Dave and Ashley so much, because it actually, that entire podcast in terms of like the title and everything was sparked from a conversation with Dave and Ashley.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we just had such a blast with them, and we were like, man, we want to do this for our audience. Like we want to have these types of conversations that we were having sidebar at EXO. We want to have these in front of people so that they can, benefit from these kind of conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have a YouTube channel, and our Instagrams is Tori Masters, Chad Masters, Tori and Chad Masters on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
all over the internet.
Yeah, it's great. There's nothing like Dave and Ashley. Y'all are going to be on the Naked Marriage podcast soon.
Yeah.
We're excited.
They're a blast.
So
they are.
Do we wear clothes to that? Because I wasn't sure how that works. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's. I just watched Happy Gilmore with my kids, and it's like the ninth green at 9 o'clock joke. Yeah. Show up naked. That'd be great.
Yeah. I show up like, oh, it's a different type of podcast.
Yeah. My bad, guys. We'll give you a fig leaf to put on. That's it's very Adam and Eve-ish. Okay. Thanks, guys, for being on the Exopod show.
Thanks for having us.
Enjoyed seeing you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're so excited to be here and just meet everyone. And I don't know who's listening. I don't know how actively involved you are with EXO, whether you're attending conferences or signing up and doing the fitness and everything. But I encourage you to get as involved as you can, because being here in person is so powerful, and there's nothing like investing in your marriage.
That's good.